In this tutorial, we will see how to place the panels on the pitched roof. The first step is to click on the Prototypes icon, where we have saved our combinations of module plus structure. We have created one for the flat roofs, which we have already placed, and another one for the pitched roofs, which we are going to place together. We have two options to place our modules. The first one is the manual positioning mode. The second one instead is the automatic positioning mode. Let's start with the manual method. We click and drag our prototype, and we go to position it on the pitch. At this point, the system asks us to name a new field, that is the new surface, on which we have positioned our modules. We will call it South Slope. Now we can set the temperatures, according to NOCT or Sandia standards. Or, again, in a custom way. We will be using the NOCT standard temperatures. Now click on Save Field. And, at this point, we can complete the positioning of our modules. You can see that by clicking on the panel, we have all the options related to our selection. We can, for example, pull our row, lengthen it, until it forms a row of 9 modules. Returning to the Move button, we also have the possibility to insert quotas, choosing the corner of the row to which we want to assign them. In this case, we want there to be 2 meters, starting from the ridge of the roof, and 1.5 meters away from the side of the roof. This function can be very useful if there are fixed safety distances that must be respected. Once we have positioned the first row, we can duplicate it. It will be sufficient to click on the axis to indicate the direction in which we want to duplicate it, and enter the number of times we want to reproduce it. In this case, 7 times. Duplicate. Now, the software will place all the panels at a minimum distance, i.e. attached to each other, leaving only a few centimeters of gap between them. Let's select the first row again, and this time we're going to duplicate it in the other direction. No more 7 times, but only once. At this point we select our new row, and set the dimensions on this side as well. Let's go to duplicate the row again. In this direction. 7 times. If we wanted to duplicate a row, however, leaving a custom space between one row and the other, it will be sufficient to click on the duplicate button, drag in the direction in which we want to duplicate, and, at this point, add an additional distance to the one that is provided to us as a basis, which would in fact be the size of the module. For example, let's assume we want to apply a 10 centimeters gap. We just need to write 1.116, duplicate, and see the result. Now we will have a 10 centimeters gap between one row and the other. Now let's go to the other layer, and see how to position the modules with the automatic positioning mode. We click on Prototypes, second icon, and then select the area where we want to place the modules. Let's define offsets now. They can be set unanimously, thus applying the same offset on all sides of the field, or they can be indicated side by side. Now we will use the general mode, entering 2 meters. Apply. The offset has been applied on each side of the building. If, on the other hand, we wanted to set it side by side, by clicking on the arrows, it will be possible to modify the offset individually for each side. Once we have defined the area we want to work on, let's go back to the first box, the one where we find our prototypes, and let's use the fitting function. At this point we can decide whether to use the internal areas, whether to start from above, and we can set a vertical distance between the panels. In this case it is 0 centimeters, so the rows will all be joined together. Calculate. The software optimally fills the area that we have selected. If we are satisfied, we can click on Place. Assign a name to the field, and save.